Have you ever had a dream from which you knew you couldn't wake up? Not because you didn't want to, but because you felt it deep in your bones. If you die in this dream, you die in reality. This story happened to a university student named Sato. It was a sweltering August, and the relentless sound of cicadas made the nights unbearable. Sato had been staying up for 3 days straight, fueled by anxiety and caffeine. But humans cannot fight their physiological limits forever. When exhaustion finally overcame his will, he slumped over his messy desk and fell into a deep, dark sleep. When he opened his eyes again, the air had turned cold, a damp, heavy cold that smelled of rust and ancient mold. He found himself sitting on a train. It wasn't a modern subway, but an old steam train from the Showa era. The carriage had faded wooden floors, and the dim yellow bulb overhead buzzed and flickered in rhythm with the train's vibration. Sato looked around. There were other passengers in the carriage. They all kept their heads down, faces pale, sitting like wax figures, completely unresponsive to their surroundings. Outside the window, there was only endless darkness. The train seemed to be traveling through an infinite tunnel. All he could hear was the monotonous, repetitive, maddening sound of the wheels on the tracks. Suddenly, a harsh burst of static broke the dead silence. The announcement system crackled to life. The voice that came through sounded unnatural, like a small child pinching their nose while speaking. It was innocent, yet dripping with malice. The next stop is living fish sashimi. Living fish sashimi. Sato froze. Living fish sashimi? Was this some kind of sick prank? He tried to stand up to investigate, but he found his body pinned to the seat. He couldn't move a muscle. It was sleep paralysis. Just then, the sliding door connecting the carriages opened with a screech. A thick fog rolled in, followed by a group of strange figures. They were short, wearing old-fashioned dirty conductor uniforms. But they weren't human. They were monkeys. Or rather, they had the hairy bodies of monkeys, but their faces were covered by porcelain human masks. The masks had twisted, painted smiles that looked as if they had been stitched onto their skin with thick black thread. The monkeys pushed a rusty metal cart and approached a man sitting in the front row. The man remained motionless, head down, as if he were already dead. One of the monkeys reached into the cart and pulled out a massive, rusty cleaver. The announcement rang out again, cheerful and disturbing. Living fish sashimi. Start. Immediately the monkey raised the cleaver and brought it down. Crunch! The sound of the blade chopping into flesh and bone echoed through the silent carriage. The man let out a blood-curdling scream, but it turned into a wet gurgle within seconds. Sato watched in absolute horror, unable to close his eyes, as the monkeys skillfully processed the man, stripping him apart, just like a chef filleting a fish. The smell of fresh blood and copper filled the air, overpowering the smell of mold. The monkeys piled the sashimi onto plates and pushed the cart forward. They were moving down the aisle, towards Sato. He could hear their wet footsteps. He could see the blood dripping from the cleaver. Just as the leader monkey stopped right behind him, Sato's heart pounded so hard he thought it would explode. He screamed internally, "Wake up!" And he did. Sato gasped, jerking his body violently as he woke up in his room. The sunlight was blinding. He had fallen off his chair, soaked in cold sweat. His heart was still racing. It was just a dream, he told himself, but the smell of rust and blood seemed to linger in his nostrils, refusing to fade. The next day, Sato couldn't concentrate on anything. He felt a constant chill on the back of his neck. Driven by a dark compulsion, He went online and typed a few keywords into the search bar. Train, monkey, killing, dream. The search results led him to an obscure forum on the deep web. Amongst a mess of garbled text and dead links, he found a thread from 2 years ago. The poster's description matched his dream perfectly. The train, the announcement, the masks. The last line of the post read, "This is called the monkey dream. If you have this dream, never go back. If you do, you must run. If they catch you, you die. You are next." Sato felt a wave of nausea. He decided he would absolutely not sleep that night. He bought a dozen cans of strong coffee, turned on every light in his apartment, and blasted heavy rock music to keep his brain awake. He paced around the room, terrified of closing his eyes. But the human body has limits. It was 3 a.m. As if someone had pulled the plug on his consciousness, Sato suddenly blacked out. The sound was the first thing to return. Then, the smell of mold. Sato opened his eyes and screamed in despair. He was back. He was back in that cursed carriage. And this time, the seat in front of him was empty. The man from last night was gone. That meant Sato was now in the first row. The speaker above his head buzzed with static. That innocent, malicious voice returned, louder than before. "The next stop is eye gouging. Eye gouging." The door slid open. The masked monkeys entered again. But this time, they weren't holding cleavers. They were holding sharp metal instruments that looked like grapefruit spoons, tools designed specifically for scooping. They walked straight towards Sato. The leader monkey stared dead at Sato's eyes through the holes in its mask. Its painted smile seemed to widen. Terror turned into adrenaline. Terror turned into rage. Sato struggled with all his might against the paralysis. "Move!" he screamed in his mind. And this time, perhaps due to pure survival instinct, his finger twitched. Then his arm. He broke free. Sato leaped from his seat, knocking over the lead monkey, and sprinted toward the back of the train. Behind him, the monkeys let out shrill, ear-piercing screeches, sounding like mockery mixed with anger. He ran. He ran through carriage after carriage. The train seemed endless, a labyrinth of swaying lights and shadows. He could hear the scuttling of claws behind him, getting closer. Finally, he reached the end of the train. A heavy iron door blocked his path. He grabbed the handle and pulled, but it was locked tight. He pounded on the thick glass window, looking back. The monkeys had caught up. The leader monkey jumped onto him, pinning him to the floor with unnatural strength. It straddled his chest, bringing that cold, sharp spoon slowly toward his right eye. Sato could see the rough texture of the porcelain mask. He could smell the rotten breath of the creature underneath. The spoon touched his eyelid. The cold metal sent a shock of pain through his nerves. "Wake me up, please! God, wake me up!" Sato screamed hysterically. Just as the spoon was about to dig in, the air around him suddenly froze. All motion stopped. The train, the monkeys, the noise, everything halted. The announcement voice spoke again, but this time it wasn't the child's voice. It was a deep, disappointed male voice, whispering directly into his ear. "Tusk, he got away." Bang! Sato crashed heavily onto his bedroom floor. The rock music was still playing, the lights were still on. He gulped down fresh air, tears streaming uncontrollably down his face. He checked his body. He was alive. He was home. The exhaustion of surviving death left him limp. After a long while, he crawled up to go to the bathroom to wash his face. He splashed cold water on his skin, trying to wash away the phantom feeling of monkey fur. He looked at himself in the mirror, haggard, pale, dark circles under his eyes, but he was alive. His eyes were intact. He managed a weary, ugly smile of relief. However, as he leaned closer to the mirror, his smile froze. Around his right eye socket, on his actual skin, there was a deep, dark, purple bruise. The shape was distinct. It was unmistakably the mark left by the rim of a metal spoon, pressing down hard. Sato touched the bruise, wincing in pain. He suddenly realized that the voice saying he got away wasn't an ending, it was a postponement. Because humans eventually have to sleep, and when he closes his eyes next time, what will the next stop be?